Continuing on from my previous video, this is Cycle Rogue with the Moonstone Mauler focus, and it does seem like it's the more powerful variant in terms of once I've started playing with it, because the ability to be able to draw through your deck is higher, and also the extra damage it does deal is higher as well. The mulligans for this deck are quite similar, so you'll be mulliganing for Living Flame, Eat the Imp, sometimes Dubious Purchase. You usually want to keep the Phoenix and the Spider as well. But yeah, in general, the deck does seem like it's the stronger of the two archetypes. With that, with the strategy behind it, you don't want to be leaving your Moonstone Mauler on the board in the early game. I've noticed, like, generally you want to be having it later, so when you mulligan, you don't want to keep it in your opening hand, because of the fact that when you do, or if you end up not getting all the asteroids into your deck, it does make it a bit weaker, but also you'll find that the Bloodmage Thalnos damage increase is quite important too. It's quite relevant. So, because with the old Cycle Rogue, when it used to be played, you used to use Oracle, which would allow you to do extra spell damage and things like that, and the Bloodmage Thalnos is quite important in that situation too, where it allows you to get those extra procs or for your asteroids to deal extra damage. So in this gameplay, I am playing against a Druid. My hand did end up being quite weak, so I did have to play the Mauler before I really would want to, especially since I don't have any extra draw cards in my deck. You generally don't want to be playing Thalnos down this early as well, but the problem that I had was that since I didn't really have many cards in my hand that were very useful, I did need to play it down to try and deal with my opponent's board. They're currently, they are using the Imbue Druid, so it is a bit weaker than what it used to be, and it seems like their hand isn't that great either. With my hand, since at the moment I'm hoping for a Dubious Purchase or some way to draw, O Manager obviously is not it. I do have the Space Rock Collector as well. I don't want to, in this situation, play down my Space Rock Collector, because it's more than likely going to be an Eat the Imp target, or it can help reduce down the cost of my Phoenix if I need to. They end up trading into my Phoenix here, so I'm not really too concerned about that. I did get a Dig for Treasure, which is good, and then I ended up getting the Spider, so I slammed that down straight away. I also play down the 2-1 here because it allows me to get the extra card draw coming from it as well. I did draw into an asteroid here, and obviously I've got my cheaper copy of my Phoenix, so I'm drawing even more cards. I did play both of them down here to make sure that I was getting as much cycle as I could. I then used the Dubious Purchase that was in my hand to draw even more cards. I've got a Shadow Step here as well, so I do have a little bit of a decision to make with here, since I do have the 2 Shadow Steps that are in my hand. Because obviously the Weavers are important to be keeping, and it is possible they could take out both if they use a spell to take out one of them. It wasn't in too much of a threat, but it still is important to make sure that is one of those things that are considered. So unfortunately, you'll see that they use the Wrath, and then they trade into my other Spider, so it does mean that the draw is a lot more limited, so it means I can't do the asteroid play as well. But since I did have a relatively decent board, it wasn't the end of the world. But in that sort of situation, looking back on it, it probably would have been better to keep one of the web spinners in my hand, and bring it back with the Shadow Step, because of the fact that it does allow me to get that extra thing. Since I do have the Dubious Purchase in my hand, it's not the end of the world for that, because obviously I can use it to get more asteroids and things coming out. But yeah, it is still obviously important to make sure that you are keeping the draw if you still do have a lot of cards in your hand. They end up playing their Marin, and yeah, it doesn't obviously end up doing too much because my board is quite strong here, and I do have a lot of damage coming out of my deck with the asteroids. Yeah, so it ends up hitting the manager once, and then twice, and then the other one I think goes face. So yeah, you just see where the damage ends up going first, and then you do what you can be involved for it. Yeah, so like the ideal board is that you are getting the giants out a lot earlier. My hand obviously was quite weak, but their hand was quite weak in that situation too. But I ended up pulling the win because the deck does have very explosive turns, as you saw with the spider, where I just played it, and then I played the other one down, and I just drew through like 10 cards, then I was able to get my my Playhouse Giant online. In terms of this mulligan, I do have the Eat Them, which is a really good card. I also have the Prep as well. Prep is, in general, quite useful for your matches, just to be able to get you to your thresholds a lot quicker. If in this situation I drew onto a Wisp, I'd more than likely just play the Wisp down and then use Eat Them, because on 2 mana, there's not really too much that you can do. I did draw into a Mauler here, so I could play it down and do Shadow Steps and things like that, and that was a consideration of mine. But with the spider, you want to use that in combination with your spider quite often as well, so it's one of those tough choices where you're just a little bit unsure what to do. I did use the Prep and Eat the Imp there to be able to draw some extra cards, and I did draw into my spider, so I'll be able to do the Mauler play soon, which obviously is a lot more effective than just doing it on that turn 2. If you have it with the spider, it does mean that you're drawing extra cards in addition to it, so it means it's obviously a lot stronger. I play down the spider, I do the Mauler, I use the Shadow Step, I then play down the Mauler again, I use the Shadow Step and then play down the Mauler again, because it does shuffle the asteroids into the deck, but it also means that I'm getting extra cards coming from my draws too. And then I play down my Phoenix as well. I just wait to see what I end up drawing. The Klein obviously takes a little bit of time to catch up since it's putting the asteroids there, and then I end up using my weapon there because it's quite likely I won't be using all my mana throughout this game. They end up using the photon cannon. It takes out my spider, so it's a little bit unfortunate that I don't have all the cards that I need in my hand at the moment. I do obviously have the dubious purchase, which is more than likely going to be my next turn play because of the fact that I need to draw some more cards to be able to get the giant online. Something that you also do want to think about in this sort of matchup, well, with this deck that I'm playing against, is that with the giant, it can have the armor coming from it with their Sleet Skater, which is a little bit unfortunate for me because of the fact that if you end up getting the extra armor, that does rule out what the Playhouse Giant does, and you'll notice in the next turn that they end up getting the Sleet Skater down and then freeze my giant, get the extra armor, so I'm not dealing as much damage as what I could towards it. If I had another Playhouse Giant, it would have been a bit better, but yeah, it's fine though, because I end up still thinking about playing the Bloodmage Thalnos, but because of the amount of armor they have and the fact that they are going to get the Playhouse Giant down, they are going to freeze the Playhouse Giant again next turn with their 1-drop now, up to the Sleet Skater. It means that I'm going to have to deal more damage to them, so the Bloodmage Thalnos is going to be a lot more important for dealing the spell damage down to them. So they end up using their Sleet Skater, they use the Photon Cannon to be able to trade or take out my Mauler, and then they play down their Secret, which was created by the Glyphs, so there is only 4 secrets that are around at the moment, but the one that would probably punish me the most would be either the ice, the extra armor, or the explosive ruins if I didn't play a minion down that had more health. Luckily for me, I did have the Incendious in my hand, so I was able to shuffle that into my deck and then let them have the next turn. They use their Colossus to be able to deal with my board, so the giant ended up not really doing anything for me. And then I draw into my Eruption, I draw into my Asteroid, and I draw into my Weaver. So I did make a mistake in this turn as well. I should have played down the Bloodmage Thalnos because I was going to be drawing through a lot of my deck. So I ended up missing quite a bit of damage coming from that because of all the Eruptions and things like that, Eruptions and Asteroids, which ends up being somewhat relevant in terms of the amount of damage that's being dealt to them. So with the armor that's being dealt and such, what I am doing right now is I'm playing down my cards to be able to get as much draws as I can. I then use the Eat the Imp to be able to draw through more of the cards. The Phoenix obviously is quite strong, and I will more than likely be drawing into my Giant relatively soon as well. So I could use that if I need to be able to get extra draws. I do play down the Giant here to be able to deal more damage to them, obviously. And the Asteroids are dealing quite a lot of damage to them too. The Eruption comes out, and then I draw into my 5-drop, so I don't have any more cards left in my deck. The reason why I used the Dig for Treasure there was to make sure that if they are able to take out my Phoenix and they deal with my board, that I will be able to still have the Phoenixes down. They end up using their Colossus, which does deal with all my minions that are there, but because I've got the O Manager in my hand, I am able to take them out. But yeah, it does show that it's important still to sequence, so that turn I could have beaten them with the Bloodmage Thalnos, but being played earlier, but that was a mistake on my part for that, so obviously make sure that you sequence things properly to make sure that you do get the lethals. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and bye for now.